Namaste, everyone. Thank you for being here again. Who knew that we would be doing this Zoom for so long? We're just zooming along. So welcome to another beautiful Sunday morning gathering at the Awakening Way Spiritual Community. You guys get tired of us talking about who and what we're all about? That's good, because we're not going to stop doing it. But I was just, I was just wondering if you were, because it's such a good reminder about what New Thought is all about. And we are a New Thought spiritual community in the lineage of Dr. Ernest Holmes. Ernest Holmes was called the great synthesizer because he took all of he was such a brilliant man, and he studied all the great religions of the world, and he read them and he studied them, and he kind of went through and found these common threads that ran through all of these spiritual traditions, and he combined them all and created this teaching of science of mind. It is this teaching that allows us to focus on what is good, what is happiness, what is loving, what is kind, what is generous, and allows us to move into that recognition that everyone is connected to everyone else. Everything is connected to everything else, that there is no separation between us and the stars in the sky. It is all one. And this awareness in and of itself, if all we ever studied, if all we ever meditated on was just this concept, we would awaken. We would awaken, because it's all about awakening to our oneness with all of life. And so if we came to the internal realization that we really are part of everything, everything would change for us. So this teaching is an opportunity, and this community is an opportunity for all of us to meet together to talk about these ideas, to take classes and study these concepts, to meditate together, to pray together, to gather together and socialize with one another. And isn't it great to be with people who have a common understanding of life, where you don't have to try to explain yourself? Everyone just kind of has that foundational understanding of what's good and what's right and where we are, without any explanation. So this community is that, this teaching is that, and we're so glad that you are here this morning. We know that everyone comes to New Thought, almost everyone comes to New Thought from various other spiritual traditions. And somehow they find their way into this teaching, and often, very often, once they find us, they never leave. And so whatever it is that brought you to our gathering this morning, and wherever you go when this gathering is over, for this beautiful period of time, welcome home. We've been waiting for you. Thank you so much for joining us. It's going to be a wonderful morning. Dr. Frank is going to be speaking with us. Love his wisdom. It's going to be especially good this morning. I know that. And so before we begin, let's just center ourselves, as we always do before we begin. Let's just center ourselves and align ourselves with the energy and the consciousness that is ever present. And so I invite you, if you're comfortable, to allow your eyes to just softly close, and take a deep, deep inhale, a deep in-breath, and hold it at the top for just a couple of seconds, and then let it out fully. Let's do one more, please. Just a deep inhale, holding and letting go. And so in this perfect moment, I know and I recognize that God is present, that God is in the very air that we breathe, in the sounds that we hear, in the feeling of being in this body, for it is the divine in us as us, experiencing life in this perfect present moment. And I know that for each and every person, this present moment is filled with life, with light, with joy, with peace, with love, with all that is good. For indeed, that presence, that loving presence is good and only good. And since we are that, we are all that we know that presence to be. And so we are that light, that love, that goodness, that peace, that joy. Whatever it is we desire, we are already that. And so we open this morning to the great and glorious yes. We say yes to everything that is unfolding this morning. Yes to the words from Dr. Frank that move into our minds and hearts, and we hear exactly what we need to uplift us and move us to that higher place of understanding, to that deeper knowing in consciousness. And I say yes to the music that is going to fill us with that vibration of the Most High. For as those vibrations move within us, our vibrations change. And we begin to move and breathe and live in that harmony of the universe. And so everything is divine and perfect and holy already. There's nothing we need to do but simply open and say yes to it all. And we do that now. And knowing that it is all already yes, I just release my words now. I let them be. And so it is. Amen.
1, 2, 3. There I stood at the edge of the wisdom, expecting to find lifetime of questions to let go of. I had to leave them behind, knowing I moved on, just in spirit always now.
Morning Awakening Ways. Thanks for inviting me back. Oh, wait, I belong here. Seems like it's been forever since I've been here to speak. Our Seed of Awakening for this month is centering. I've been thinking a lot about this talk for several weeks now, trying to decide what I thought we needed to center on, given everything that's going on with the election coming up and COVID and Black Lives Matter and the recession and everything else. What is it more than anything else that we need to focus on to get our country through this intact? And then I remembered something that Ernest said about the two gifts we've been given. He said, when life created us, it gave us the two great endowments of God, the two highest gifts of heaven, love and creativity. Love so that we may have confidence in life, a sense of security and peace and joy in living. Creativity so that we can really live as persons and express ourselves individually. Life has done very well by us. Would it be too much to say that God has given us the best he had and then let us alone to discover ourselves? It seems to me that we as Americans are really good at creating. You know, we're one of the most creative nations on the planet. But I think what we need to center on more than anything else right now at this time in history is love. As Terry can tell you, there was a time in my life when I had real anger issues. Came by naturally. My father and grandfather both had anger issues, and my mother was a red-headed Irish woman. Do I need to say any more? To say it interfered with my life would be a real understatement. It cost me relationships, it cost me jobs, cost me whole ways of life because of my anger. I spent years working on it. And finally, I was able to, if not overcome it, at least come to terms with it, because it was for me so deep-seated in the very fiber of my being that a fix-it cure was not possible. I simply had to come to grips with it and come to terms with it. Recently, though, I was driving down the road here in Atascadero, and I saw a sign that said "All Lives Matter." And at first it irritated me because I thought we had gotten past the obtuse statement of "All Lives Matter" in response to Black Lives Matter, when what that really means is Black Lives Matter too. And then I noticed that it was written in rather childish print, and that underneath "All Lives Matter," it said, "Dogs and cats, deers and squirrels, and other animals have a right to live. Please slow down." And it touched me. It brought me back to myself, and it centered me once again in what's important. Years ago, at an affiliated New Thought Network conference, I heard a man speak named Dr. Greg Bear. And he touched my soul. He changed my life forever. He spoke on a topic he calls real love. And what he's really talking about is divine unconditional love. He said the real problem that we have in the world is that there's not enough unconditional love. And the reason there's not enough unconditional love is that almost none of us have ever experienced unconditional love in our lives, especially in our childhood. No matter how much or how often people declared their love to us, they then placed conditions on their love. And that wound up being conditional love, not unconditional love. And so we were taught that as children, and we grew up knowing nothing but conditional love, what Greg Bear calls imitation love. And it has transformed our entire culture into this place of conditions on everything. Greg changed my life that day, and I became a student of his. I traveled all over the country to go to workshops with him. I spoke to him on the phone on a regular basis. I even eventually studying one-to-one at his home in Georgia. He teaches that we all suffer from a kind of post-traumatic stress disorder that he calls post-childhood stress disorder. And instead of growing up in a normal environment, feeling normal and being loved, this disorder, and then having a crisis thrust upon us that causes post-traumatic stress disorder, this disorder is given to us in childhood like a Chinese water torture. Drip, 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 where we feel loved and then feels like it's taken away from us. And then we feel loved again and it feels like it's taken away from us. And we feel loved again and it feels like it's taken away from us over and over and over again until a kind of permanent temporary insanity sets in. Every time our love buttons get pushed. I did a search on Amazon several years ago with love, just looking for books with love in the title. And I found at that time over 69,000 books that had the word love in the title. I believe that the reason for that is that there are only two experiences in life, either feeling loved or not feeling loved. I believe that all the conflicts between people are about feeling loved or not feeling loved. I believe all the conflicts between nations are about feeling loved or not feeling loved. All our mental issues, our emotional issues are about feeling loved or not feeling loved. And so are all of our mental illnesses about feeling loved and not feeling loved. When we're successes, we feel loved and we love. When we feel like failures, we feel unloved and unloving. All the problems in the world have this idea of feeling loved and not feeling loved at its very core. Jesus was once asked what the greatest of the commandments was, and he replied, "You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and all your mind, and with all your soul and with all your mind. This is the first and great commandment, and the second is like it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself." He then went on to explain what he meant by neighbor. And it's a very interesting explanation, because this is where he tells the parable of the Good Samaritan. And just to give you a little context about this parable of the Good Samaritan, the Samaritans were the Jews who were left behind in Israel when during the Babylonian exile of the Jewish people. There weren't a lot of them, but those that were left behind continued the ancient traditions of Judaism with just the first 5 books of what we call the Bible, what they called the Torah, with the original Temple Mount, which was not in Jerusalem, it was Mount Gezerah. And when the Jews came back, their religion had changed because of their exile in Babylon. And the two sides, the Samaritans and the Jews, never got along because they each claimed the true religion. They each claimed the true Temple Mount where God was present. They each looked down upon the other. That's the context that we're talking about. And here's the story. A man was going down from Jerusalem to Jericho, where he was attacked by robbers. They stripped him of his clothes, beat him, and went away, leaving him half dead. A priest happened to be going down the same road, and when he saw the man, he passed by on the other side. So too, a Levite, which was the tribe of priests in Judaism, a Levite, when he came to the place and saw him, passed by on the other side. But a Samaritan, as he traveled, came where the man was, and when he saw him, he took pity on him. He went to him and bandaged his wounds, pouring on oil and wine. Then he took the man on his own donkey, brought him to an inn, and took care of him. The next day he took out 2 denarii and gave them to the innkeeper. Look after him, he said, and when I return, I will reimburse you for any extra expense you may have. This man, Jesus said, was truly being a neighbor. This was his teaching about unconditional love. Unconditional love isn't about what we give our family. That's the easy part. Unconditional love isn't what we give to people who agree with us or that we agree with. Anybody can do that. Unconditional love is what we give to people we don't agree with, who don't agree with us. Not just any love, but unconditional love. And the definition, as Greg Bear says, of unconditional love is unconditionally caring about the happiness of another person. Unconditionally caring. The Buddha said it very well. Hate can never be overcome by hate. Hate can only be overcome by love. And I think that's why now more than ever we need it. I know it sounds kind of Pollyannish, but consider the anger, contempt, and judgment that we hold others in simply comes back to us from them and divides us further and further and further. We keep talking about healing this nation, but as Ernest taught us, love is the only final security in the universe. Love is the greatest healing power in the universe and the only thing that binds people together in a community of spirit. How can that happen in the real world? People of color and their allies are looking for acceptance and equality. They want access to the things that we white people take for granted. And most of us take for granted that they have access to it as well. They don't, and they never have. For 350 years, they've been trying to get it, and they've not gotten it yet. In other words, in a very real way, they feel unloved and therefore unloving by the society, about the society that they live in. If they act out in fear that they will never get it, they're simply trying to get unconditional love. On the other side of the equation, we have the people, mostly white, who feel insecure, who fear change, who fear that giving up some of their power in society will mean losing all of it. To them, all lives matter because if they admit that Black lives do indeed matter, then somehow that lessens the amount of power and control they have over their own lives. They're simply trying to feel unconditionally loved. All the great spiritual teachers have taught us that God is love and God is infinite and eternal. That being true, love is infinite and eternal. It's not, there's not a place where love runs out. That's that little childhood thing within us. That's that childish place within us where if we had a sibling, a new baby sibling, suddenly we felt like we were going to be losing some of mom and dad's love. That's just not true. This is divine love. It's eternal. It's always been there. It always is. One of the great cultural icons of the last half of the 20th century was Fred Rogers, known to most of us as Mr. Rogers. The last lines of his theme song to Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood says, "Since we're together, we might as well say, would you be mine? Could you be mine? Won't you be my neighbor?" Maybe it's time to realize that this is probably what he meant, that we need to practice being neighbors the way Jesus taught. After all, he was a Methodist minister. If we as a nation wish to heal, then this kind of love, loving our neighbor as ourselves kind of love, is the only way. We have to give up the right to be right. As Greg Bear says, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? That's where we are. The old 60s song, For What It's Worth by Steve Stills, is still true today. Nobody's right if everybody's wrong. The only way out of the crisis we're in is through the crisis we're in. If we don't start listening, to stop talking about how we're right and others are wrong, and start listening to one another, then we're going to succeed in doing what no enemy has ever done: destroy our republic and the democratic institutions that created it. It's just that simple. And it's that critical that we turn to love now more than ever before. Jesus and the other avatars and teachers all said that they weren't speculating. They weren't guessing about this. They were speaking from personal experience. They tell us that we can have those same experiences if we will only do what some people call the great experiment. Sincerely seeking divine love and being loving. If we're willing to perform that great experiment, even an agnostic can perform it. All that's required is a humble heart, an open mind, and a willingness to persevere long enough to overcome our own barriers of fear, doubt, feelings of being unloved, and resistance to change. Open to the divine within you, to that love that's within you right now and right here, and accept with all your heart divine love, and it will never be denied you. Then the next time you hear somebody you disagree with speak, listen. Don't judge. Not to the words. Don't listen to the words. The words are what separate us. Listen to the feelings. Listen to the fear that they feel. What sounds like anger is just fear. What sounds like rage is just panic. Listen with the heart-centered and unconditional love, in real love. Do that, and no crisis is too great for this beautiful, wonderful country to overcome. I believe that we can overcome it by coming together in love and doing it. And if you're willing to do that, I invite you to join me right now in prayer. Please close your eyes. Take a breath and relax. And know with me that there is one creative energy in the universe. That creative energy is love. That creative energy, whatever name we give it, is infinite, eternal love, creating all out of itself. It is who I am. It is who each person on this call is. It is who each life, each sentient being in the universe is. Love made manifest. That's the truth of all of us. And I know that whenever we feel unloved, it's because we have cut ourselves off from our unity with that divine love because of our fear, because of our own pain. And I declare for us right here and right now that as we go through this period of time, from now until whenever things heal, we open ourselves to that divine love. We open ourselves to that real love, that unconditional love that is divine. And we let it flow through us and out of us to everyone around us, whether we agree with them or not, whether they are like us or different from us. Let love show us the way to heal together. For that love, that divine love, that unconditional love, is the true path to awakening. It's the true path to God. And I know for each of us, I see it so clearly that as we walk that path of love, all problems of whatever kind are healed. All problems of individual relationships are healed. All problems of racial and societal relationships are healed. All problems of international relationships are healed as we walk in love and only in love. And for that, I am so grateful, for I see the shining city on the hill that we can become to the world as we heal all that is tearing us apart at this moment. I give thanks. I give thanks. I give thanks. Isn't it wonderful? I've spoken my word of truth and love has propelled the law into motion. The law has acted. The way is clear. The demonstration complete. Love and only love shows the way. And there's nothing more I need do but release and let go. And I do that now. And I say, and so it is. Amen.
What we need right now is a world full of people set on getting back into balance. What we need right now is a world full of people set on getting back into it. Think about what you'll do compared to what you won't. Think about what you love compared to what you don't. Think about where you'll go. Remember where you've been. Simplify your life by keeping it all in balance. Mother Creator, we sing your praise. Father Creator, we're calling out to you. What we need right now is a world full of people set on getting back into balance. What we need right now is a world full of people set on getting back into it. Think about what you'll do compared to what you won't. Think about those you love, peace with those you don't. Think about where you go, remember where you've been. Simplify your life by keeping it all in balance. Mother Creator, we sing your praise. Father Creator,
Thank you so much. Awesome. I love that song. Another song written by Jim Townsend and sung by the incredible talent of this community of Karen and Delon and Steve Johnson. Could hear his saxophone in the back and Jimmy singing along. And we saw a little snapshot of Trisha there in the picture too. Thank you so much for your music this morning. As always, it uplifts us and allows us to move through, if not just the day, the rest of the week. As we do you find that these songs that we hear on Sunday end up playing in your mind as the week goes by? I love that. I love that. So thank you so much for that. Thank you to Dr. Frank for another stellar talk this morning, which reminds us of what is most important. Could there be anything more important than what he talked about, which is love? Which is love, and yet it is probably one of the greatest challenges of our human existence. So thank you so much for that, and we know that it heals, it blesses, it changes all things. And so as a community, we do what we can to work on that, to bring more love to our own lives and out into the world. Thank you for that reminder this morning, Dr. Frank. I also want to thank Ron Gallagher. I try to thank him every week, but you know, he kind of, sometimes we miss that. And Ron is the one that makes all of this stuff, you know, all your little postage stamp things, all of that happen. And he also is responsible for getting the YouTube up and running. He has to edit what happens here on Sunday, and then he has to send it to Frank, and then Frank has to put it on YouTube, and so that it's available whenever you want to listen to it. It's awesome. It's just amazing. So thank you to Ron. Thank you, all of you, for your ongoing continued support. Who would have guessed that we would have still been having to do these, or get to do these, depending on how you look at this, these Zoom Sunday gatherings. And we still are have our bills. We say this every Sunday. I feel like I should apologize, but actually it's just the nature of life itself. And so here we are, and we're doing what we can, and we need to keep doing what we can, and we can only keep doing what we can with your help. So thank you for that ongoing continued financial support. We also recognize that as you support us, we support you, and we can support you through at any moment in time. We can support you through our prayers. And so we know that things happen in people's lives. I mean, you can't predict what's going to happen, and something could happen in the middle of the week, or it could happen, you know, later today, where you just feel like you need someone, you need extra prayer support. All you have to do is send us an email, you know, awakeningways@thegrid.net. Type out what it is you want us to hold you in prayer for. Be sure to put prayer request in the subject line, and it will get picked up and passed on to the soul support team, and we will hold you in prayer for that for the week, knowing that whatever you can't know for yourself, we can know for you. It's powerful, powerful prayers in this community. Reminder that next Sunday, Timber Hawkeye is back. We love it when Timber comes. It has that clear message, that clear vision that shines through Timber, and we always enjoy listening to what he has to bring us. So next Sunday, Timber Hawkeye, looking forward to that. And we will be back, and we'll find out who else has moved. We keep finding people who are moving and moving, you know, not just physically moving, but maybe moving in other ways as well. So join us again next week. And with that, I'd just like to leave you with this little blessing. You know, this is a wonderful, wonderful month with the seed of awakening as centering. And you can center on anything. You can center on love, life, peace, joy, happiness, whatever you want to center on. The idea is to utilize this idea of centering, bringing your focus in to what it is that you want to experience. And so I know that each and every person is centered in absolute peace and love. in radiant health and vitality, in overflowing goodness and prosperity, and in a deep, abiding sense of the presence of the divine acting in and through every action and interaction in life itself. So let it be for all of us. And so it is. Amen. Namaste. See you next week.